The very dapper, very elegant Mr. Julius Delahaije. I hope I've said that right.
That's correct.
Yes.
That's correct, absolutely.
Chairman and CEO of SGA, in charge of 3 countries.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Julius Delahaije was born in Netherlands. He studied business economics and taxation law in university and started out his career in the tax department of a big multinational, Philips Electronics. He, however, gradually moved to the business economics part, working on a joint venture between Philips and AT&T. Many years later, he took over from the late founder Edmond van Tongeren to become chairman and CEO of the region's leading security service provider. SGA provides security solutions that include guarding, alarm response tracking, cash management, security dogs, and courier services. We visited their dog center to find out what it takes to train security personnel, and more interesting, find out what a day in the life of a security dog looks like.
Okay, this is SGA Training School and Dog Section. We deal with dog training and dog handling, and we hire our services to the clients outside there. When dogs arrive in kennels from 9 a.m., we have many activities. First of all, we make sure dogs have enough water, they drink, we give them time to rest before we give them food. Then after that, they get another around 1 hour, they rest before we take them out for training. Training of a dog takes between 45 minutes to 1 hour. We don't go beyond that. Then after that, they came back. We have timetable. We don't wash dogs from Monday to Friday because we normally wash our dogs once a week. So like on Monday, we wash our dogs on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays after training from 12 p.m. up to 1 p.m. From there, they also rest. You know, they should have enough rest before they are taken out again from 3 p.m. for their normal night duties. In SGA, we have different type of dogs. Just to mention a few, we have German Shepherd. We have the Rottweiler. We also have the Retriever dogs and Labrador. Again, we have other dogs like the Bobbles. Yeah.
So does security really require you to have a military background or some technical expertise that makes you a sharpshooter? Well, Our guest today on Top Job, Julius Delahaije, the chairman and CEO of SGA Kenya, a private security company with over 18,000 employees in the region in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda, sits with us to tell us what are some of the attributes that you need to make it in the security industry, how the times have evolved from muscle and violence to intelligence and technology, and other things that you need to make it ahead at the very top of the game in security. Before I get into the conversation, I can't avoid speaking about the recent events that have happened in Nairobi, Kenya, the attack on Dusit. And being in the security industry, I'd love to get your opinion and thought on what we could have done differently and how you perceive the security situation in Kenya in general.
Yeah. No, yeah, indeed, that's inevitable. It's of course a very sad event, and which has on one hand, of course, a huge impact for sure for the people that were affected and their families. But at the same time, we also have to realize, people ask, are we now less safe than the day before? And I don't think so. Terrorists it's not a Kenyan thing. It's a worldwide thing. Yes, there might be some focus. But at the same time, we need to move on with our lives. Even how sad it is, life goes on. You can create a very secure and safe environment if you want to, but most likely then you will end up living in a bunker and you have no interaction with anybody else anymore. So that is, I don't think, a solution. It's being alert, being aware of the situation. Yes, there's always things that we can do better, and I'm thinking of indeed some preventive measures. Security industry needs to change in general from being reactive to proactive.
Right.
That is a very important, I think, message. And we need to innovate. The human factor is always the weakest spot in any security.
I like the way you said that terrorism is not a Kenyan problem, it's a worldwide problem. And indeed, our condolences go out to the families and victims of the Dusit attack. You talk about instinct, and from a security perspective, was it in your gut and in your instinct to become a security professional?
No, actually not. Actually not at all.
Right.
So I guess you want to bring me back to where it started.
Absolutely, from where it all began.
Where it all began.
That's right.
And no, actually, I was growing up in a town in the Netherlands, and actually after grammar school, I went to university, Latin, Greek.
Oh, really? So there's a specific school on languages and grammar?
Yeah, well, it's actually the broad sense, but in Holland it's the, let's say, you would say the most broadest education, but you had to learn your classics as well. So Latin, Greek, but all the other languages, French, German, English. Dutch,
is that standard
Dutch, of course.
For all kids who are going through the system? You have to.
No. That is the highest end you can choose. So there is different grades of education, but I chose that way. It's not the easiest way. I think nowadays not so many kids choose that route.
Okay.
But besides that, you had all the other things like maths and biology.
Sure.
So complete actually preparation for university. So thereafter I went to university, and actually I studied business economics and taxation law.
Taxation law?
Well, exactly.
Oh, that must be very exciting.
So basically, in those days we were quite advanced and ahead of a lot of topics that we are facing now, IT and cybersecurity. So 5 years ago, I decided to step down as CEO of that company. I'm still a shareholder in the company, but I wanted to do something completely different.
And we'll pause there as we take a break, because I want us to go more into the security industry and what it actually takes to be a security professional. What are some of the personal attributes that you need? But we'll take a break right now on Top Job as we check out today's top tip.
Oh wow, that is an interesting question. Yeah, I think when I was 28 years old, I knew quite well what I wanted. I was quite determined and very eager. So spent as much as time I could, you know, on doing the job, learning not only what I had to do, but more also, you know, what others are doing, how can I learn from that. So think quite a lot beyond my own scope. So that is something I could definitely recommend. But what I would, I think, do better is the balance between private and business life. I think at my age, my focus was pure on my ambition, you know, to become very successful and spend all the time on the business. And I think a bit, you know, I could have spent more time on private life, I think.
Welcome back with the charming Julius Delahaije, CEO and Chairman of SGA Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania as well. And you've given us some good context and background into your obviously successful business life. But I want to talk about matters security, and especially as someone who wants to be a security professional, what are some of the things that A, you have to be passionate about, and B, on your own, what are some of the things that you really need to care about to be able to get into this obviously challenging industry?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned before, I got very excited in my previous, let's say, assignment and mission on technology in combination with security, the cyber security, IT, ICT, the combination of it, and the innovation part of it. And then I got across this the owner and founder of SGA Security, who established this, and got really also excited about East Africa as an emerging market.
Oh, you met the owner of SGA?
Yes, he passed away more than 2 years ago. So I met him, and of course he invited me to take over the helm and lead the company. And also he realized that the industry is in a changing environment, and of course the environment itself is changing dramatically. Terrorist attacks, but also security has a completely different meaning. So it's not only the, as I meant before, the physical part of the security, which is still important, but I think the human factor, the technology, that is an intriguing part for me, is how can we use technology, how can we use technical applications, and how can we prevent? It's the human brain, it's the mentality of the people that we can change. And for me, at my my long-lasting experience at my age, I'm really passionate about learning, or I think even it's a mission that my experience and my knowledge I have to pass on to the next generation.
What are some of the most, I don't want to say weirdest things that you've seen? I'm sure as a security professional, in the private sector, you are dealing with all sorts of things. You've talked about in IT, so you've got the ability for people to breach your IT systems, hacking, that sort of thing. You've got armed robbery, you've got terrorism, and so many other dangerous experiences. What are some of the things? Obviously, you can't talk in detail, but I'm sure you've experienced some really hairy moments. Can you give us a flavor of some of the things that you've dealt with?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it is indeed a broad variety of issues. Most of the challenges is again the human factor. We are employing 18,000 people. 18,000? 18,000.
Here within this region?
In this region.
Oh, wow.
No, it's only concentrating on this region. Our headquarters is on Mombasa Road, and then each of the countries have their own national management, actually. So altogether 18,000 in East Africa.
Wow.
And
So what's a typical day like? I mean, you're sitting in Nairobi and you're managing all these people, dealing with all of these scenarios.
Yeah.
What does a typical day like look for you?
Yeah, well, it of course it depends. At the end of the day, there's quite a lot of issues that
Is it fighting fires?
before. No, well, that is exactly what I try to prevent, and that's, I think, what one of the big recommendations for leaders. Leaders should try avoid as much as possible firefighting.
Right.
I think we have to set goals, long-term goals.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that is really, it's innovation, proactiveness and prevention, and quality of service. And so that is the long-term goal. So every day and every item that I come across, and if there is something of the day, I try to connect that item to my long-term goal. So if I need to solve an issue, if I need to make a decision, it's not just, black and white, yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
No, I try to make that connection. How does that fit? How
With the
does
objective.
exactly fit into the long-term objective? And I think that is the difference between a leader and a manager.
Right.
A manager is more busy with the day-to-day issues and trying to actually clean the plate and clean the desk as soon as possible. But most of the people, the trap that they fall in is that they clean up here, but at the other end there's more coming in than is going out. And so that requires a more structural approach. You need to think about, how can I do my job more effective?
So systems,
infrastructure. Infrastructures, procedures, protocols, and of course then living up to it.
I was going to ask, how would I, as a normal person who is not working for SGA, what do I need to do to be more secure?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, we have addressed the instinct, but being alert. Watch your environment, watch what's going on, the circumstance where you're in. Usually we all have a pattern. We are going to work, we have our sports, we have our family, we divide it. Most of us have divided it in quite, neat timelines, and some of us are better in it or worse. Even, I don't think it's good or bad, but it's just different. But that pattern, watch that pattern. Based on that pattern, you are used to whatever is happening. Now, if you are alert, you suddenly will find out, hey, something else is happening. Hey, why is that car parked in front of my door? It was never there.
Mm-hmm.
Why suddenly are there two people sitting in that car for the last 2 weeks? What are they doing there?
What are some of the challenging aspects of the job? Are there times when it has gone wrong, like horribly wrong for a client, and you've had to deal with it?
Yeah, sometimes we have of course in Tanzania and Uganda, we have armed forces.
Wow.
So and that is quite substantial. It's very well regulated, but it also means from time to time you get casualties.
Sure.
And if you have 18,000 people, I would say on average maybe 3 to 5 people a year where we have incidents, accidents. Out of the number of 18,000, it's just a small percentage, but at the same time, each and every one is one too much.
How is it is it impossible to have a family and have a life, a social life, where someone knows that today Julius is going to this place of work and he will be dealing with these number of challenges and risks, and I just hope he comes back?
Yeah.
Is there time for family?
Yeah, there is, absolutely, and that's what to be honest, I've learned over time. When I was talking 20 years ago, I think even from time to time I messed up. To be honest, because you were so busy with your job and traveling, and you didn't have hardly time for your family. I've now, I think, found a better balance.
Okay.
So really to really take time for the family, and yes, from time to time there's events that and emergencies, so that I can't just say, well, wait, I'm back next day or next week, and then we sort it out. Now, if there is an emergency right now, I have to run. That is clear. But once we have decided when I'm at home and when I have the time, I spend what I call quality time at home, and we really, enjoy and try to really separate, the things at work from our private life.
Is there a way to merge downtime and recreation with the work that you're doing? So I'm sure because you travel a lot.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you like to do so that you can take a bit of time off and think about Julius instead of some of the other crazy things that are happening around you?
Yeah, well, we are really loving to go up country, visit game parks, nature. That is really where we are really excited. If you go to nature and to the game park, even here, Nairobi National Park is beautiful, but Kenya and actually East Africa, there's so many beautiful parks. If you're out there, you go back to basics. You have no time to deal with the stress. There is no stress. You're back to the basics, and you learn to relativate the issues that you're dealing with.
Right.
And so that is one part where we absolutely enjoy the weekends. To go out to Limuru or to up country, Navaja, or anyway, so many beautiful places. And a few times a year we go back. We still have an apartment in Amsterdam. We go back there, and now the contrast in security is, whereas here you're driving with your car with close protection. You're quite alert. You can't walk on the street on your own in the middle of the night. Certainly not at certain places.
Yes.
Whereas when I go in Amsterdam, I take my bicycle, and I can go the middle of the town. I don't have to be careful with, let's say, the same security issues that we're dealing here.
I like that you've drawn the comparison between Netherlands and East Africa. And so as we close, Julius, I wanted to find out, one, would you say that we're improving in terms of safety in Kenya and in the region? And secondly, as a young person watching, if I wanted to get into the industry, what are some of the things that I need?
No. Well, I think, yes, we are definitely improving. As I said, we are at the start of a complete new era in security, technology, innovation. And we see it already. Kenya has actually one of the best internet networks, connectivity networks, for sure in emerging markets, but even compared to, for instance, the US. If you go in the US, beyond the large cities, internet is not so well organized, or connectivity. I think even in Kenya, in quite some places, it's better organized. So that is the basic. So now we can work on applications and use that technology to help us out, and it will. It will go very fast, and we, for sure, will do everything to be ahead of everybody to develop the country and the security there. So yes, step by step, but it is going to improve for sure. Coming back to your other question, security, as I mentioned, is no longer about muscles and about violence. It's more being proactive rather than reactive. So we need high educated people.
Okay.
And not only pure on security, but also in finance, in IT, and analyst. So the higher the education, the more chance you have. In particular, as I mentioned, on IT applications and on security. There is in Kenya, there is more and more security and safety programs at universities, where you can study crime issues, but security, safety issues. And as I said, in prevention and technology, That's where the future is. So I would always be the advocate for all of the youngsters, is to say, you know, put time and efforts in your education, look at passion, which is very, very important. And I have to emphasize herself as well,
Yes.
because there is a tendency that people say, hey, yeah, but security, isn't that a masculine industry?
Yes.
Yes, it used to be, but it's changing, and I can invite everybody, you know, particularly the women, you know, to look at security, because, well, I think in a lot of occasions they can do a better job than we as men.
Beautiful. It's not just about muscles and violence. Get your education, get your passion up. Julius Delahaije, thank you so much for
You're welcome.
an amazing chat.
You're welcome.
And all the very
much.
best.
All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So for any of you thinking about a career in security, remember, getting an education and being passionate about it and having the mental fortitude are some of the things that you can use to get ahead in the security industry. Thank you so much for watching Top Job. My name is Mwenesi Musalia, and remember, it's all about power moves home.